Hmm. Hey guys, how's it going? Am I unmuted? Oh my Lord, this has been a day. I can't even tell you what all has happened. I see some people in there. Appreciate you guys showing up. So, as you can see, I'm back in the house and my Mac PowerBook Pro that I was editing Chapter 8 on decided to go dark on me today. And that happened about 2 o'clock. So, yeah. Luckily, I was working off the external drive, so my edit is safe in Premiere. The video is safe, but I have no startup screen whatsoever. So I have a feeling it has to do something with Pat Turner. That's all I can imagine. That's all I can think of. So, hey, I appreciate everybody coming here, letting it build up a little bit. I knew I would get the buttons wrong. So today or tonight, I wanted to pop back on my 9 o'clock time slot and talk about the 16 millimeter. And I did get out and shoot. The first roll is in the can. Oh my gosh. So I don't know. Are you guys want to just see the raw footage that Brian and I shot yesterday of him following me around with the GoPro, which looks really cool, by the way. And I finished off or polished off this 100-foot roll of film. So if you guys are okay with that, I wanted to show you some footage and imagine when this is done, what I'm going to do is every time you hear the camera start up and run, if you notice, Brian is shooting behind me and shooting the same thing I'm shooting. So when I get the film back, I'm going to reinsert it because this is a live. I'm going to reinsert it into the video and basically do a finished piece of showing the footage. And maybe it's not an exact, but maybe we could take Brian's GoPro over the shoulder and kind of make a match, bring them up side by side and let you all see 16, black and white 16 to GoPro. So that might be kind of cool. So do you all want to see? I got two things going here tonight, basically. I got a conversation with Brian Darsey, who I want to introduce you all to Brian Darsey to the channel because Brian is all through Chapter 8. So Brian and I, he's a viewer of the channel. He reached out to me and we corresponded probably, a couple of months back and forth. You know, you kind of doing that. Who are you? Why are you talking to me? Why me? You know, that sort of thing. And we finally just said, hey, I got to do this little thing, you know, with the 16. You want to go out? And he offered to help out with that. So that's great. So we actually did them backwards, though. Instead of doing the 16 millimeter shoot we did Friday, last week, I think it was, or the weekend before, we went out into the corridor with the canoe. And that Chapter 8 should be done in about a week. It's a bear to edit. It's an hour and 17 minutes right now. I'm debating on chopping like 20 minutes out of it, or do you all really want to see us walking down a trail or kayaking down a river for an hour? That's basically what it is. But we're scouting the whole time. So hey Jay, how you doing? Max, appreciate it. Mike, good. All right, Cans, Joe, everybody's there. Cool. So we're editing that, and then I'm doing this. So I had two projects going on at once, but I wanted to show the shooting tonight, and I did throw together just raw footage, straight hour. It's an hour clip of just us out. It's a really good walk, though, and all I did was chop edit. So there is no bells and whistles to it. I just made sure the audio was safe to broadcast on my part, not Brian's. And just took it from there. I mean, but it's kind of interesting. I mean, you'll see me work the camera. I put it on a monopod because, like I said, this thing's heavy. So I put it on a monopod, basically a stick that was eye level to the ground, and you'll see how I kind of use that. And I also ran an external mic on it. So that'd be pretty cool. So let me bring Brian in. If Brian's ready, give me a thumbs up and we'll pop Brian in here. And I want to introduce you all to him and we'll talk to Brian a little bit. Hey, how you doing, Brian? You're muted, so unmute. Yep. There you go.
Okay, you can tell I'm new to this.
At least I caught it.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm good, man. I just wanted to appreciate. I appreciate you coming on, and B, you haven't seen your footage yet, and I think it was the first time I just handed you a camera and said, "Hey, you mind working this?" And I was hoping you would do exactly what you did because that wasn't really planned out. I wasn't, all I wanted was some footage in case something happened, but the way you did it in a way that I went, oh no, this is really cool because now when I get the film back, I can insert the film over what I'm shooting because there's a lot of open space in the swamp. So we're going to drop that film right over it. Man, you just nailed it. I appreciate that.
Well, I wish I could say it was on purpose, but what I was trying to do was get you like manipulating the settings on the camera and adjusting the things and getting the shot just so you'd have something to put into the background. But if it works out for something else, that's all the better.
Yeah. So I just want to go ahead and run it. I think everybody would want to see that. I think a couple of photographers are out here that may want to see it. So before we do that, let's start off a little bit about you. We'll go in the video and we'll run the film. I'll leave the mics open where we can talk about it, and we'll be small on the corner while the film's running.
Okay.
And so if you see something or have a question, because we really, as they'll see, we really weren't doing a lot of chit chat on the technical aspects of what was happening. You kind of went into my mode. You went into documentary mode, which was really cool. And I didn't expect that. So you gave me something I didn't expect. So if you have any questions while we're running this, maybe we could just talk along with it. I'll watch the chat. If someone brings up a question in chat, we can stop, pause the video, show the question in chat, answer it. And if we get through the film, we don't. But I want to save some time to come back to you.
Okay.
Because there's some questions I want to introduce you. So real quick, though. So we've gone out twice.
Yes.
I think we're in a situation where you're willing to help me with the corridor, and I needed someone more in Hillsborough County that was available. And you have a interest in Bigfoot, and tell the viewers how you got started. What was your?
Okay. Well, first off, before I start, let me say, if you see me kind of bobbing and weaving here in the camera, it's because this is my first live stream, and I'm not real sure where I'm at and which way to move to get myself back in the picture. So it's not some kind of nervous tick or anything. It's just trying to figure this thing out.
You're doing great.
Well, the whole thing with Bigfoot, I'm like so many other stories, when I was a kid, like I think I mentioned it to you earlier, that we had things, we would go to this building in the school called the library, and they had these things called books. And you actually had to read them. You had to physically read the written print in them. It was awesome. No, but they had a section on like paranormal things. They had things on ghosts, and this was like in the 5th grade, ghosts and, the Loch Ness Monster. And of course they had Bigfoot and the Yeti and all that stuff. And I just ate it up, and I thought it was the neatest thing. I just knew behind our house there was a little scrub area of woods, and I just knew that a Bigfoot lived in there. And one day it was gonna, because why wouldn't he? I mean, and we kind of lived on a hill, and so our house was real tall on the downhill side. It was a block house, and my window was like 9 foot off the ground in my bedroom, and I just knew one night I was going to look up and see the face of a Bigfoot. He had his chin resting on the windowsill there. So I was all into it for a while, and then I guess I grew up, what some people would say, and started realizing how stupid the idea of Bigfoot and how, you know, that it just isn't something that could possibly be true. There'd have to be thousands of them, and where would they hide, and why haven't, you know, the whole story, why haven't we had a picture, why haven't we seen bones? And so basically I kind of educated myself out of believing in Bigfoot. And in 2007, I got the opportunity. It was planned. We had saved up a lot of money, and over the years, my wife and I had decided to go on this hike. I was really into hiking, and I hiked the Florida Trail. Yeah, but the Florida Trail was just a part of it. I had intended on doing the whole eastern side of the United States up into Nova Scotia. And unfortunately, I got Lyme disease, so that got cut short. But I hiked from Key West up. The Florida Trail actually starts at the southern end of Big Cypress Swamp down in the Everglades.
Correct.
But I hiked from Key West, just to say that I came from the farthest point south, and came up and went through the swamp. And the funny thing was the first night I was there, I realized I had cell service, and it was a flip phone. It wasn't like, you know, an iPhone at that time. You could barely get a black and white picture out of it. And to text, you had to like use the phone numbers with the 3 letters on each number and all that. It was a pain in the butt. So I called a good friend of mine, and I'm laying there in the pitch black. I can't even see my hand in front of my face in my hammock, looking up at the most beautiful set of stars I've ever seen in my life. I mean, you could see the edge of the Milky Way, everything. It was just no light pollution.
Wow.
And it was so dark. And the first thing he says is, "Hey man, you seen Bigfoot yet?" And I said, you know, up until this moment, I had never even thought of it. And it kind of gave me the creeps for a second, you know. And I'm thinking, no, I haven't seen him, but if I'm going to, this is probably where it'll be at. And so I made it through the swamp. It took 4 days to get all the way out of the swamp. And I headed up and the trail and heading on up and got up past Lake Okeechobee. And this is where things took a turn toward the wild side, so to speak. I entered this area called Three Lakes Wildlife Management Area, which is kind of northeast of Lake Okeechobee and just about where the Kissimmee River gets established really well again, as it's coming. You know, this would be like where the mouth of it goes into the lake, but it's finally getting itself organized again. And during that time of the year, it was October, and I guess, I don't know if I said, but this was 2007. It's probably the 22nd or 23rd. I couldn't find my journal right offhand, but I know it was right in that time frame. And I was hiking at night a lot because it was so hot during the day. So I would find a nice shady place during the heat of the day and set my hammock up and take a nap. And then I would put my headlamp on, and I would do a lot of night hiking, and you can make a lot of miles that way. It's nice and cool. And of course, you know, nothing to worry about. There's nothing. So I thought.
I know someone to introduce you to.
So anyway, I'm not going to go real deep into this because this could really end up taking a while. But basically what happened was I was going through this scrubland, this palmetto scrub area, and I was kind of watching the sandy trail in case, you know, some snakes were trying to, you know, still get some warmth out of the sand that had been baked into it all day. And I was kind of more focused on the trail than I was around me because I couldn't see much anyway. And as I came up to this clump of palmetto bushes, there was one of those, and some of the people may know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of them maybe not, but the palmetto bushes, part of their trunk, or I don't know if it's considered a root or a rootish trunk or whatever, if it serves the same purpose, but they grow on the surface of the ground, like half buried a lot of times. And I had looked past that and didn't see, and I stubbed my toe on it hard. And when I did, it made a loud thump, and it literally shook the ground like you would feel, like if somebody right next to you stomps the ground real hard, you could actually feel a slight vibration in the ground.
But that was you that did that.
Yes, that was me by hitting that log. And I think it kind of resonates through the plant and through the root network and stuff. And it makes it a lot louder than it would normally be. Well, it tripped me up. I was using hiking poles and I step forward. And because if I hadn't had the poles, I would have fell flat on my face, but the poles kind of caught me, but it took me 2 or 3 steps. As soon as my foot hit that root and it made the noise, there was just this, I don't know how to explain it other than it was just like this explosion of noise. And you know what palmettos sound like. I mean, they're one of the loudest things you can imagine out in the woods if you're trying to move through them. And it just felt like somebody was ripping this thing apart. And I saw something come up out of the corner of my eye. Of course, my light was limited too because of my headlamp, but I did see something move. And my first thought was I jumped a deer, that had bedded down in the middle of those palmettos. Well, I got stopped and I turned around to see if I was going to see this little white tail, flipping off in the distance. And there was this thing, this form was there, and it was jet black, and it looked like, I don't know, it like those plywood cutouts that you see people put Sasquatch cutouts, but the full, the head and shoulders. That's what I saw, but he wasn't facing me. He was facing away from me. He had been turning. As I turned around to look, I could see his shoulder move where he had just turned around, and he was just standing there. And I thought, this isn't real. It didn't even faze me. It was just like more of a curiosity, like, what the heck is that? And then it moved. And when it moved, it added, I don't understand what the difference was, psychologically between it standing there and it moving. But when it moved, it was like, I've had a similar experience one time in the military where I was in a really dangerous situation if I had been discovered. And you get to the point where you start tasting like metal. There's a metallic taste in your mouth. And then you'll think, and it'll be like, well, something's not right. What's wrong here? And then you'll say, oh yeah, breathe, stupid. You get to the point where you just forget to breathe. Yeah. And it had the mass of, I would say, the weight of a small cow. I mean, it was so bulky that it was just too overwhelming to consider what it might have been, And I'm going to be really, really nerdy here. When I was in high school, that's when Dungeons and Dragons first came out. And this kind of just flipped into my head. I don't know why, but there was a certain thing when you would go to attack the dragons, you automatically took a certain amount of damage because of this thing called dragon fear. And it was because this beast was so big and so imposing that you were automatically, minus whatever abilities you would normally have. And that's what it kind of reminded me of. It's like, and then I started thinking that the scariest part was that this thing didn't even care enough about me or what I might be able to do to it to even turn around and look at me. It just turned its back on me, knowing that there was nothing that I could do, wow, to intimidate it or harm it or anything. And I honestly think that if I would have just kept moving, that he would have sat back down. Because I've thought about this a lot. I think maybe he was using that trail. Animals like people, they're going to take the easiest route through the brush, and there's all kind of water area, little lakes and ponds and stuff in that area also. And, that would be an easy way for the deer to travel, especially at night. So I'm thinking maybe he was there waiting in ambush for something to come down the trail. And it just happened to be me. And
Wow.
when he saw that I was kind of frozen and stayed around, and he just, you know, I got the feeling like he was thinking, oh, well, he found me, you know, I might as well go find someplace else, you know, and he just kind of moseyed off. It wasn't anything, no, excitement. There was nothing hurried about the way it was moving. He just kind of loped, you know, just moseyed into the wood line, and he must have stopped because I heard him for 4 or 5 steps as he got deeper and deeper. And you know, you and I have talked about how you don't have to go very far into the wood lines in Florida, and it's so thick that, you know, you can't even see in there during the daylight. And I think he was waiting there to see if I was going to try to follow him in there or whatever. And
Wow. So you were talking to Carrie Arnold before you passed, and you were
yes,
arranging to possibly go on Odyssey and tell this encounter. And we probably should do it more justice, and go into things fully. Although you covered it pretty dang well, I think. I don't know what else more I would ask you. I was reading chat, and some people can relate too. So you never got to do that, right? You
no, I didn't. It was on a lineup, and I had a date set, and then somebody who he asked me if I would mind rescheduling because somebody that he had been trying to get on for a long time was available. I don't even know who it was, but I agreed to
yeah.
you know, to just to reschedule it, and then, you know, life happens, and it just never
Yeah.
worked out.
So have you heard, since you've done the Florida Trail, you mentioned that you went to a Florida Trail meetup at some point?
I did actually. It was when I had just come out of the swamp area and was about to head up to Lake Okeechobee, and there was a guy I was kind of talking to, another hiker, and there was going to be a big meetup in Ocala National Forest at Juniper Springs Campground. Just a, you know, the Florida Trail type thing. It wasn't an official thing, but it was just a bunch of hikers got together, and so he gave me a ride up there and then drove me back where I could finish my hike. Um, there was a guy there that he pulled me off to the side, and he said, "Hey man, I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it." And he said, you better be careful out there in those woods, because he said, I saw a Bigfoot up in North Florida. And then he kind of looked at me, and I could see him frown, and he said, well, I don't care if you believe me or not. You know, I'm just trying to get you prepared in case you see something. And then I realized that I was laughing at him. You know, I had this big smile on my face. I didn't even consciously know it, but this smile, just big smirk, came across my face, you know, and I feel bad about that now.
No, because when someone says something like that, it's not like you can go, "Oh, really?" No, it's like,
Yeah, but at least I could have listened with a straight face, you know, even if I didn't believe him.
well, when something like that is jarring and someone says, "Hey, be on the lookout. I saw Bigfoot on the Florida Trail," I think I would smile too, but in one of those kind of like, "Oh, really? That'd be cool." But
But yeah, that was just real ironic, you know. Here I did that, and then I had that experience.
yeah. So that's pretty cool. Well, at least you got to mention something here. So tactical Bigfoot research. My buddy Mike says, I only worry about snakes when at Central Florida Bigfoot reminds me to look for them. Yeah, Mike and I went out with a bunch of people, and he has this habit of just stepping over trees, fallen trees blindly. And
that's a leap of faith.
That's kind of what I told him. So you have an interesting background. We'll fly through a couple more things, and then we'll get into the video you shot of me shooting.
Okay.
But you also do reenactments. So you're involved in reenactments. And
yes, I've done Civil War reenacting for over 20 years. I haven't done it in the past few years. There's
That's cool.
There's politics in that, just like there are in this field and in every other, I would imagine. And some things just conspired that I realized where I wasn't having fun anymore. And you know, when you're doing a hobby and it becomes more of a job than something you enjoy, it's time to reconsider things. So I don't do that too much anymore. But yeah, on top of that, I'm an ordained minister. Um, I'm a grief counselor, and
Wow.
I don't I don't know how to even put this out there. I'm not into the woo stuff as far as Bigfoot is concerned. I have encountered some stuff through my grief counseling and some interventions and stuff I've done where things that were not easily explained have happened. So it's not that I dismiss, of course, being a minister, I wouldn't dismiss the spiritual world anyway. But I'm open to that kind of stuff if somebody can prove it to me. But or if I have firsthand experience with it. But it just kind of takes it to a higher level. I want to start with the basics on all this stuff, and then if it expands farther, then I'll follow the trail wherever it leads. But that's kind of where I stand on that.
Okay, so I know you've been in my chat, and you email me after shows, and you always have some great input that basically is responsible for you and I even attempting to get together and go out, is because your feedback was so spot on. I mean, you observed things and knew what I was getting into, and I appreciated that. But then you told me something out there today that so you don't have a channel, right?
Not yet. I have a channel made, but it's not public yet. I'm just starting it.
And you haven't been in any groups per se, like you're not haven't relations with past groups or?
No, I've talked to a few people. I've been invited out by one group, but after watching some of their videos, I don't want to mention any names or anything, but I just wasn't comfortable with the type of quote unquote research they were doing. So
yeah, we get that. We've all been there. I had one other question. You went into your hiking. Did you do anything? Did you ever finish the Eastern United States? Was that an Appalachian Trail sort of thing going up into Newfoundland?
I did not completely finish it. No, it was the Appalachian Trail. I went up, took the Florida Trail up to just below Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And headed headed west out to Pensacola, and then went north through I think it's Black River or Black Creek State Park there, and headed up, and they have what's called the Alabama Connector Trail. And it's a series of wood walks and also road walks. And it eventually puts you, by hopping from a few different trails, it puts you on the Appalachian Trail. I made it up to Irwin, Tennessee, and I was really starting to slow down. I could really tell that I was really getting achy and stuff, and I wasn't sure what was going on. Of course, that was the Lyme disease kicking in, but I didn't realize it at the time. I knew I wasn't going to make it to Mount Katahdin in Maine before they closed the park. So I decided to fly from Nashville up to Maine, and then I started at Katahdin, hoping to at least finish the trail here, but I only made it down to Virginia before I had to finally quit.
Right.
So still got a gap there I've got to fill, maybe one day, but
yeah. So you've been treated with the Lyme disease, so you're doing better, I take it, even though. So you and I have been nursing similar injuries. I will tell the viewers that, and I was confiding in you about something going on with me, and then you kind of dropped that bomb, and I don't know if I've even mentioned anything on the channel yet about what's going on with me, but I've had ridiculously sore knees for a long time. It's like when I go kayaking, I notice, Ron's got to almost pull me out. I mean, it's just I move real slow. I do all right. I can do the walks, but then the next day I'm paying for it. that day 2, day 3 sort of thing. And I didn't know what was going on, dude. I was like, I've been to this past year, I've seen 3 surgeons on, looking at knees, doing x-rays, MRIs, everything's clear. I switched primaries a couple years ago because I wasn't getting help. I went to my primary this year and said, look, I'm still sore. She sent me through PT. I did 16 weeks of physical therapy on my knees. Felt pretty good, but the day after PT, it would hurt. Third day hurt, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. So finally, I had a cardiac appointment because I have a yearly standing echocardiogram, or every couple of years echocardiogram. But I do a yearly cardiac because 2012 I had open heart surgery. So fixing a aortic valve that I was born with. So it wasn't anything that happened. It was just the valve went bad. So I got a valve replacement. So I go to my primary and I said, I've been to every doctor multiple times, 3-4 times at every level, 3-4 primaries, 3 or 4 knee doctors, couldn't figure out what was going on. And finally I said, it's got to be the medicine. It's got to be the warfarin, Coumadin, whatever I'm on, it's metoprolol, whatever. It's got to be something causing joint pain. He goes, nope, checked it. And he goes, you need to see a rheumatologist. I went, what? You need to, oh, that's a new one. Haven't seen that. Tested my blood, and I got a tick infection. It's not Lyme, but it's the Rocky Mountains. So it's pet, dog, most likely. They did say it was Rocky Mountain, even though I've only been out west twice in my life for 2 photo conferences, not out in the woods. But there is a Florida thing going on. So, so that's what's going on with my knees. So now I'm on steroid shot, massive injection, and I'm doing the pills for Lyme disease, which is a month-long regimen, as you know. Heavy antibiotics to try to get the infection out of my knee. So basically, it just showed that I had been exposed to Rocky Mountain, and they assume that I have an infection that's isolated to the knees, and that's why I'm having trouble. So the past week, I've been phenomenal because I'm injected with steroids and they're treating the infection. So people, tick bites are no joke. So I only mention it just to share, just be careful. I do carry a spray now because I'm on antibiotics. I have to totally 90% block because you'll blister, on the antibiotics that I'm on. It sucks. But anyway, moving forward, let's get into the film. Let's just roll this because I know some people here just want to see the camera working. And you were nice enough to film this. So I'm just going to throw this thing in here and we'll bring us down to the side. I think we should pop into the corner.
Okay.
And let's roll this thing. Chad, if you all have any questions, I'm just going to roll this raw footage and you can see it from there. Oh, it's going to play difficult on me now.
Uh-oh.
I got a button up here. It says disk eject. Add to stream. I hear it trying to run. Hang on.
At least you got a picture of it.
Oh, that's horrible. Okay, let me do this. Let me try to bring it in again. Let me go to present. Let me go present video file. Yeah, the disk has it ejected itself. There it is. Okay, sorry about that, guys.
Might want to get contacts for
There
this.
you go.
There we go.
I am sweating like a pig. 5.6. Let's go with it. All right.
So I'm using a monopod here to take the weight off me.
I don't know what it is. I love the sound of that camera. There's just something about the sprockets.
I don't know.
You know, this isn't bad. This isn't a bad way to carry this.
That's good. Plus, it makes it a lot more stable.
Well, for right now.
I think it gave you a good counterweight to the weight of the camera, and it made it a lot easier to. I think before it seemed like it wasn't that heavy. It was just kind of unwieldy.
Yeah, yeah. It gives you. I like the fact that I mounted the audio recorder on the grip.
That looks.
And so that was rolling, or is rolling, the whole time. So everything I shoot, that's going to be my audio insert point, because this camera doesn't have sound. So 16 millimeter double sprocket, no
That's
sound.
Really recent.
But now I can put it into
it. Skidded the bark off the tree.
Oh yeah.
Where it fell.
So what I'm using is an iPhone for exposure. I contacted the.
So it's been. You can tell this is some of the lighter wood.
The film group here, and they said the iPhone app called Light Meter.
That's a fresh crack in there.
Should get me pretty close.
Good catch.
We'll see. I don't know.
Okay, so this is now.
That was a monster sim there. I'm glad I wasn't around when that came down.
Yeah.
4.8.
Well, you better check again because the sun just popped out. If that makes a difference.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's tricky lighting here. For sure. And I tell you,
Quicker than you can read it and get the camera ready.
yeah, it's quicker than I can get the camera ready. So it's 1/30th at 4.8 is going to be my scene. Now it's 4.0. Okay, so I'm going to screen capture that. 4.0. And I'm going to go in here. 4.0. So let's just shoot this thing. Oh, you know what?
See, I'm having to wear that hat to protect my neck from sun and my ears. I'm totally sprayed down with 90% sunblock.
It's about 5 feet.
Well, this automatic stuff.
It's black and white.
Cool.
All these automatic settings, it makes you lazy, or makes you that makes you appreciate, I guess you should say, all the automatic stuff.
Well, it almost same. The thing is, I can't put this on a boat though. I thought about that. Definitely not putting it on a boat.
Yeah.
Oh, this is definitely the way to carry this. This isn't that bad right now.
You
Did you all hear that okay?
On it.
And I like having the microphone.
I can hear it. I don't know about everybody else.
Actually, I forgot.
Yeah, because it'll probably pick up not only the sound, but the vibration of the thing too will really add probably to the depth of the sound.
I got my thermal cell solo on the back. I didn't
That'll
know
be
that.
neat.
When the film starts,
It should be hooked on the top of the backpack,
and
actually.
I can bring in the sound right over the video.
That's neat.
I kind of liked it there because I think it fogged me a lot better when it was
They make
down low.
An app for your phone. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called I think it's called 8mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually got a button. It does the film noise, and then it's got a button you can hit and make it skip a couple of frames. It's pretty neat.
Now, guys, look at the GoPro work that Brian's doing. This is the GoPro 9 with the mod lens on it.
Yeah, it's a little bit
so
there.
Anywhere, watch this. Anywhere I stop it,
because we were.
Look at the sharpness
way
it
into the
holds.
water.
There's no interlacing going on.
Here we were starting to have to step.
And look at the horizon lighting. It's not bouncing. And look how much I'm bouncing. So at the GoPro 9 with the mod lens on it, I was talking to you about.
Yeah, that's not the skill of the operator.
Okay,
That's
so
sure.
that's a nice
That's all in there.
Back to.
Oh, sun's out again.
Yeah, we're back to 30 feet. Again, ASA doesn't change. Film speed doesn't change. Only thing I got to worry about is f-stop. So this is my point too, is all Patterson had to worry about was f-stop. So he was shooting about there, this one, f114, f14. So it's just a matter of right there. I'm not even gonna.
This needs like a little hood snapped on it.
Okay, I'm gonna do another shot. I'm aiming, I'm not even.
That's when you know you're good, when you can shoot from the hip.
If you look, we're down to 75 feet remaining.
Oh, wow.
So CD asked a question here. Is the camera that is this the camera that Patterson had? Do you think it was a different model? So this is the Kodak Sin K100, but there is about 5 different models of that camera. So it's the same film, the same camera, operates exactly the same way. The only thing different is the camera I'm using has a turret lens on it, has multiple. You have a choice of 3 lenses. You can just rotate, rotate, rotate. And it's more of a fine art movie maker camera. The one Roger had is more similar to what Thomas Steenberg has. The one lens, much more slimmer profile. And that is most likely the camera that was used. But if I do a test here, lens to lens, shooting the same film, roughly the same ASA, which is what I'm doing, it's for the most part identical. So the reason why I picked the black and white film, it's closest to the ASA of the Kodachrome that they were shooting. Plus, it's a camera test. So I didn't want to put transparency film in this camera until I know that the camera is working. So until I know the camera's working, because it's expensive. This 3 minutes of video is about $170 just to do this test. And so what we're doing is seeing if the camera leaks. We're seeing if the shutter is working, if the film moves through the gate. We're seeing if I loaded the camera correctly. I haven't loaded a camera like this in 40 years. I'm pretty sure I got that right because I know of all the things that could go wrong. So as I loop the film through the gate, I know how to just move it to make sure it's not slipping. And a couple of times I thought I had it, and I went back and did a double take, and you can feel the film just slide, and it's got to grip the teeth. And so I think I had everything set right, but I just want to know. But so I just want to know if the camera's working. So ASA is very close to what Patterson was shooting, and the shutter speed or the frames per second, I had it set at 16. Which is pretty dang close to, he's either at 16, 18, some say even slower, but it's not going to matter. So for all practical purposes, ASA, ISO 40, and frame rate of 16, which I had the setting on this day, is going to be almost a perfect match. The only thing I have to worry about is exposure. And I make a couple points about exposure. I'm shooting a black and white film here with a latitude this wide. If you make a mistake, Patterson was shooting reverser film, positive slide film with a latitude like this. That's my problem with the Patty film, is that transparency film was used by someone who doesn't necessarily know or shoot transparency film. It's almost like I talk about this. It comes up. We actually, Brian and I actually had this conversation. So let me just roll it because I say everything I'm saying now. But yes, it is.
So I figured you got like 12, 15-second clips, and I'm hoping that audio picks it up really nice. So
this is like
now check this out.
A test you're doing before you do the production?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I just want to see how. And this would be a way to kind of explain. I don't know if I want to waste footage, but remember the other one was at F16?
Right.
Well, it's only about 11 now. Like, let's say the clouds, the sun went behind clouds again and we went to 5.6.
Mm-hmm.
And if he jumped off the horse and just pulled this thing out and started shooting, and he was set for daylight, and say it was evening or early morning or any other time, the exposure would not work.
Wow.
And that's my point, is it was such a perfect exposure for such a perfect time of day for bright sun, that if he didn't have bright sun, like we just lost sun,
Right.
and he was shooting transparency film, or what we call reversal film, there's no margin for error on reversal film. So we wouldn't have a patty film if it wasn't perfect. And that's what I'm saying, is it's too perfect.
So he's either the luckiest guy alive, or
He's incredibly lucky.
something's kind of hokey with
Because
the
in this
camera work.
light, this is bright sunlight. This is pretty much the light he had. On this film reading right now, I'm getting F16, F22, which is what he was shooting at. But as you just saw, it went all the way down like 5. I had to open 5 stops.
Right.
If I had to open 5 stops shooting transparency film and I didn't open the 5 stops, you would have dark film.
Wow.
It would have been black. That's what I'm saying. He's like super lucky. Because I don't think there's any evidence of him going, oh wait, oh, hold on, Patty, I'm adjusting f-stop, or there's no lockdown trigger, thumb in the way, because you can lock this trigger down too and continuously run and do what he was doing and catch all the movement and catch the feet and all that stuff. But at some point, if he was doing anything on the lens, you would have, see my finger?
Mm-hmm.
You would have, there's no way to get to it.
Right.
And there's none of that showing. So that's what I'm saying, is I think this lens of his was a stubbier lens, a fixed focus lens, not a focus lens. Like, I have to focus this lens. I think what Roger had was a fixed focus lens, which means you just get off the horse and go. But you still have to do the exposure. You still have to read the sun. You still have to know bright light F22 or dusk F4. Did he know that? I don't know. I don't know his experiences. That's what's bothering me with the film. And being that you're shooting at this frame rate, at a 1/30th of a second,
Right.
the only way to get stillness at 1/30th is to move slow. And then what does Patty do? She moves slow. So that's the problem I have, is if she was moving fast, like you would think,
Mm-hmm.
like hightailing it out of there would be no Patty film. It's only there because she moves slow.
So even if she moved, if her strides were slow, but she was still moving fast, it would have messed it up.
I watched it again the other night, and it looked like to me she was still moving slow. I mean, to me, the gait is, you gotta watch it. The gait is still slow. Now, someone told me that, I had a friend call me the other day and said they thought they saw something and they were moving in on it from a couple 100 yards out.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they still weren't catching it. Whatever it was still outpacing them, even though it wasn't running. I didn't see that with Patty. It looks like to me you could easily catch that. You could catch the beast.
And there should be some. Didn't they measure the trackway and stuff?
Well, that's where it turns into be 100% positive. It's like, I believe everything I'm seeing on the creature. I believe everything about the stride and the footprints, although I did see something about the shape of the toes one way and what they call it. I got to research that a little bit more. This has been already researched. I understand that, but I'm only 2 years into it, and I just got to do it myself because I can't trust anybody in the field. That's the problem, is I just don't know who to really trust.
It's not like a lot of things where you can research it back to the source article or something, because it was like, it's just stuff people have written down, a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, the guys from the Olympic Project are doing it.
But I'm talking about like Patterson and them. They
didn't. There's nothing.
they
There's not
didn't
even a
survey
picture.
the tracks, or
There's not even a picture of him with the camera. It's like everything's missing. They know the cameras, the Kodachrome where the Kodachrome was taken and processed.
Right.
And the store doesn't exist again. They know there's a police report on the camera that he was going to be arrested because he didn't return it. But all they say is Kodak 100. But there's 5 models
so it's
of
just
this.
a generic,
Yeah.
like a series
I
number.
think it was the simplest of simplest Kodak 100s. Nothing. This is the fancier one.
Mhm.
I think it was all you saw was one lens. It looked like that.
So is that something like a reporter would have used at the time?
This, yes,
Okay.
or a filmmaker, because back in the day in '67, this was what you're shooting with a GoPro and what I'm shooting with a Lumix. This was state of the art. This was
Wow.
This was Roger shooting like match shooting today. He has the best equipment, way better than everybody else. And a lot of people don't even address that. This camera in '67 was the bomb. I mean, there's 35, but you know, only your professional studios
Right.
had that. He had like the second best out there.
And that's a much bigger camera, isn't it? 35?
Yeah.
Isn't that like a film
yeah.
studio
yeah,
type
it's film
camera?
studio camera. Yeah. So
Okay, so let me I'm not sure if I can remove this. I don't want to remove it because I don't know if it'll jump start back. So Patrick's asking, Matt, what lens did Patterson use? So on these cameras standard, it's the 25 or the 16 or the 18. So I saw a video that Tate sent me from the Olympic Project, and they did a 25 and an 18 comparison on site with a gentleman walking. So what was interesting about what Tate sent me was exactly what I just said about exposure and that having to be perfect, that if the light had changed, you would have a dark patty, a black frame, or film. The test they did with the Olympic Project on site, because the site now has grown up. There's brush, there's trees. It's no longer that open full sun like you're looking at. This scene really closely matches what he shot in '67. But imagine it now with 20, 30-foot trees out there. They're having to clear the trees out of the way now just to get those sight lines that Patty had. So even that, they shot the replica film that Tate sent me that's on the Olympic Project's website, and they show the person, but look how dark the film is. That's exactly my point. If the exposure wasn't perfect one way or the other, that's what the Patty film would have looked like. So, man, there's just a lot of questions like that. And I don't mean to say I don't trust anybody. It's just that nobody has addressed the camera in your hand and the whole PG film. They address the costume, they address the movement, they address the footprints, they address the gait, they address the sunlight, the horse falling, the whole movement and him moving. But no one's put it up of running with this camera in your hands, shooting waist level run and gun like I did, not looking through the viewfinder, or with the trigger lockdown. That trigger lockdown is only going to last maybe a minute and a half. So at some point, and Brian, you even bring it up here, he would have had to stop and did a rewind. I mean, 100%. Putting this camera in my hand, he would have had to stop and do a rewind. That's probably why there's a start-stop. He would have had to reloaded the spring.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
because I was thinking like when he was running and the camera was vibrating, bouncing around, maybe he was winding them, but the start and stop makes more sense.
No, I think the Munns report talks about the fact that there's edits, or there's, because they go into detail about these edits. So that's a whole nother story. But there's a couple questions in here I wanted to ask. So it's either, Patrick, it's either the 25 or the 18 or 16 millimeter lens. The Munns report suggests that his camera was adapted with a fixed focus lens, knowing that he wasn't a professional. And I talk about another thing that bothers me up here at one point. Let's see, there's one up here. If I missed somebody. Steve asks, Central Florida Bigfoot, could Patty seem slow for the faster frame rate? I have to think about that one. I mean, we know it was shot around the 12 to 18 frames per second. It wasn't any higher. The point I make, if you do an exposure triangle, you know, what makes a proper exposure? You have f-stop at the top, which is what I'm changing. And then you have frame rate and shutter speed, right? And then you have ISO, ASA over here. This and this on the bottom of the pyramid doesn't change. The only thing that's changing is the top. And when you change the top, something else gives. There's a give and take. So if you're on a small hole and you open up, that means the shutter has to, the frame rate, he could have picked a faster frame rate. He could have shot this whole film at 24 frames a second, and then we probably wouldn't be questioning its authenticity, because of 24 frames a second, as opposed to an 18 or 16 frames a second, is a huge difference in shutter speed. Okay. And that's why it looks like the film is blurred when it's actually a motion blur. And a lot of people get that wrong. It's impossible for that film to be out of focus. On bright sunlight, you know, your depth of field is 10 feet to infinity. Patty wasn't within 10 feet. So focus is not an issue. What the issue is movement. If you're moving, if something's moving and you're frozen and it's moving, it's going to be blurred. But if you're moving at the same rate as Patty, guess what? You have the famous frame that looks perfect. And look at the camera. Look at the pan. It's at one spot where everything's in the sweet spot. The whole movement is correct, and that's why you have that picture perfect frame. I'm not questioning any of that. I just question the luckiest man on the planet with wrong film rate choice, wrong exposure choice in terms of f-stop. It's almost like, and I talk about this later, I won't blow it, but it's almost like someone going to a store and say, hey, I'm a filmmaker and I'm gonna make a movie. And I go through this because you asked me about it later. Let me just see if anything else is here. Okay, I don't see it. Everybody else is just having a good chat. So let me just keep going. Let me get this off the screen. Oh, there you go. We may jump ahead.
Roger was me. I mean, I'm Roger. He's shooting with the best of the best during that day. But what I'm saying is, as a filmmaker, he picked the wrong film and the wrong shutter speed. And everybody's saying he was doing it to save money. Then why shoot with this camera if you're trying to save money? That doesn't make sense. You don't save money on one end on the most critical element, which is sharpness and freeze frame, just so you can run more film, but still you want the best camera. That doesn't make sense. Right. And that's what I was just trying to explain. No one's addressed that. That's the only point I'm making. It has nothing to do with the film's not real or anything like that. It's just that he picks a great camera and then he kind of screws up on the exposure setting or does it on purpose just to save money. It's like, well, what are you trying to do then? And then the fact that the filmmaking stops and he runs to press and he runs to movie theaters and he does all that bothers me. And then all of a sudden he goes on tour, but Gimlin doesn't go. Well, that bothers me.
There's a lot of weird stuff.
There's a lot of I just think I just think a lot of people are applying critical thinking and saying that Patty's real. I believe it's real, but when you apply the photography end of it, there's some issues. And I think when you make a conclusion that the film is real, you got to consider some other elements. You can't dismiss evidence because the film looks so real and everybody says it's real hair, it's brush marks, it's, there's a whatever that is on the thigh. Great. But so you're not listening to this? There's problems with this of him doing it. The only way that would have worked is bright sun moving slow. And what does he get? Bright sun moving slow. That just smells fishy to me. That's all I'm saying.
So he's either the luckiest man alive, or
I've always said that he's a lucky son of a bitch. He was a lucky cowboy.
Or it makes me wonder if maybe somebody had spotted this thing at a distance and maybe they had prepared and rode up on it. You know, it's hard to say. There's
According
a
to
lot
that, you know, he was spooked. He fell off his
Right,
horse,
right.
blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Well, that doesn't mean the horse wouldn't spook. I mean,
True. I know my dog would.
Horses.
Remember this was full.
Right, that's what I was going to say. We could have crossed right here, but we didn't know.
Well, but imagine getting your
Yeah,
foot
yeah,
caught
as
in
long
it.
as you didn't fall off.
I knew what this looked like.
Yeah.
I knew you could easily do that. You know, I want to.
That was all underwater last time we were there.
See,
and you
this
couldn't
is a
see
good
those roots.
example of what running water can do. When people see stuff like this and they, you know, they don't realize that an area may have been flooded before, you know, and they're thinking that something might have put it there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Steve, that dial, you can get all different frame rates. It's not locked in to 4 frame rates. On my camera anyway. I'm not sure about his
Pink
mom.
there for a minute now. Oh, it is pink.
Oh yeah, that's one of those, that's it's one of the roseate spoonbills. Yeah.
Same thing that happened.
Yeah. Well, he's not a white ibis, so those are the
You
neatest
want to walk
birds.
to that thing?
Yeah,
You feel
I'll
like to
walk
go
down
where the
there.
bird is?
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't look grassy where we'll get. Because I think the nest.
Oh, I don't care. I brought extra shoes to ride home in, and if
I think the nest is this way, and if I could find it
oh,
again.
he's like, what the heck?
There's a lot of damage here.
He said, I'm going to get out of here because only crazy people would be coming out here.
The perfect place for 2
Watch
people
out
with
for these
chicken infection.
cypress knees. There's little tiny ones sticking up all over the place. Don't trip on them.
Oh my god.
And I don't necessarily want a chest tube.
Oh wow. Okay. Do it again. Where are you to the river?
Oh yeah, it's just overflowed a little bit.
So the nest is back there. See that tree laying down?
Yep.
It's going that way.
Uh-huh.
That's the nest. So we can hit it on the way back now that I know.
Okay.
Now that I know where I am, or we can walk.
So guys, we're talking about the nest here. So this is the same place where my episode, I think 15, everything got exciting for me. 6 months into my journey, it was episode 15. This is where the tree fell, the owls went off. I found the footprint. I caught something in a nest. Oh my God. It's just like everything that could possibly happen in Sasquatch lore happened, except no whoop and no thump, but everything else was present. About 9 other things were all present that day. So it's episode 15. I wanted to share this place with Brian, and this is what he's seeing also for the first time.
Walk this way, Ted. I just want to shoot this corner up here.
And look at the water line. It's up about, it can be about 4 feet deep in there. There it's only about 2, but you'll see it change a little later.
Right over there. And farther out a half mile is where Dan and I heard
Hold on, let me get a picture
Stan
of
and
that
I
thing.
saw the pig being slaughtered.
Yeah. Can you hold this for a second?
Yeah.
I'll try on my iPhone. This thing is just a little bit too big for me to hold with one hand.
Oh, we'll do that. Give me a shout.
Now see how much better the footage got as soon as you took over the camera?
This is straight raw, guys. This is no color correction or anything. I would have normally done a level, you know,
Well, I can't tell
a
you
color
what
grade
this
on this, which we're
like,
doing
none
in
of this
chapter
stuff is
8.
down here.
This camera color graded looked great. This is just pretty flat right now.
Well, the roots probably got saturated,
Touch
and
the
then
back. How's the battery? Okay.
the roots probably got saturated to the ground. Yep, big old apple snail. Favorite food of the limpkins. It looks like that's like an
Look
old,
at the color in it.
I know it. They're beautiful snails and they're huge. They're also invasive, but I think they've pretty much given up on them.
Usually somebody, what does the water taste like?
I would drink this water, not this water, but like the river water if I had to.
Okay,
What?
if I'm going too far, just say.
Nope, I'm good.
We learned
I'm
our
kind of
lesson.
testing these boots out too. They're
I think we
supposed
both
to be.
learned our lesson last week in
I think a
Massachusetts.
rubber snake would be a lot more fun than rubber boots.
That would be so wrong.
Something is messing around over there. I just saw it. I don't know if it's a log.
It looks like a log.
At first I thought it was a big old gar that was rolling on top of the water, but I think it's a log that's just, you know, floating up
When
and
we're
down and
usually
catching the
here,
current.
you can't see through this
That
stuff.
130th 50. So
This-
ASA
this is-
50, 130th.
This is like a
We're
desert
at
to me today. This
F6.7
is
right
so
here. I'm
weird.
looking at the middle one.
So this is the exposure app for the 16
So
millimeter.
that's what I'm
now.
going to do. So I'm going to screen capture that just to have a second backup. I like that shot with the X.
Yeah.
So then my glasses are still fogged over. So here you got to do your distance. 30th, and then F8 would be right there.
Okay.
So we're ready to go.
So again, I
This
will,
thing.
when you see this the next time, there'll be 16 millimeter, hopefully, if I did it right, running over top this right here.
Okay,
Right there.
Sasquatch, you jump out. We're ready.
The center screen, there's a big two leans, make an X. That's what I'm shooting. Panning to it.
Okay, and just for shits and giggles,
So how long will that run with one winding?
I don't know.
I just wondered if he would have.
We're going to go to the big lens.
I guess he did have time to rewind it during that one spot, didn't he? If he had to.
Well, we're assuming that he had everything preset before he jumped off the horse.
Right, but I mean, would it have covered that whole time he was filming? You know what I'm saying?
It'd probably only go like a minute or two, I think.
I think
So
that's
this
about
is
right.
now-
It's going to go about a minute.
Positions, he could have
On a
technically
spring.
been winding it. So I guess that's not really something we can criticize too much.
This is 9.5. And
Let's see if you can get that.
yes, I am
Spoon
going to get it.
So the only thing I'm
We're gonna go right
adjusting
between
is
8 and
f-stop because of the changing light in the swamp.
Spoonbill.
He's like these people.
Wildlife photography.
So imagine jumping off a
Oh, we
horse
saw
with
something.
transparent, and I'm shooting negative, guys. So imagine jumping off a horse and just shooting film, slide film, and nailing the exposure. That's crazy to me.
Okay,
That's
so
crazy
back.
lucky. I don't care who you are. I'll talk to anybody about that.
So that's why in the old,
Not yet. That's the next film. When I do a reenactment.
This lasts longer than I thought. This is exhausting.
so that's like in the old, when you see people on the old film sets, the director always had, was that a light meter that was always hung around their neck probably?
Yes, it's an exposure meter. Yeah, exactly. And I have one, and it's not working.
Oh,
So what I did there is I shot the spoonbill
mm-hmm.
with a basically a wide angle, and then I switched the turret and got them tighter, and then I went wider, and then came back and panned to the X.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be cool. And so if you're shooting this scene too, we can actually bring that footage up to this footage side by side.
Not too many,
Boy,
Mike.
he's finding him quite
Not too many.
the lunch there.
Atlanta, and this one's going to New Jersey, I think. This place is beautiful today. I mean, man, I could just.
Some of this,
That may have been a bird. Did you see that?
yeah.
And you know how I always talk about the
Yeah,
kayaks
so
on the other
something
side,
in
guys?
the
This
distance,
is
I
why I
thought
got the
it was
kayaks, and this
something
is why
else.
Brian's kind of involved too.
Yeah.
Brian's got canoes and other boats,
That's
but
not exactly what I was going to
Oh.
say.
see
but
the other
yeah.
side? That's where we're going. So that's where the
5.6.
the corridor series is going.
I guess
Not
I'm
where everybody can
confused
get to
people
here,
hiking out here
but the
today.
other side.
5.6. Infinity.
And after today, I will be carrying the 16 with me. I really liked it.
Can't remember if I
So-
did this yet.
Especially Brian liked the GoPro.
Yeah,
We may just use this combination right here. I'm fine with it.
Okay, Sasquatch, ready. Go. Walk across the river.
Action!
Maybe if you yelled action real loud.
I know, right?
There's a little brim or something popping at a bug.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I could, Joe, but then I wouldn't be able to get back up.
You need a stunt
We're
man.
halfway. This is taking,
Wow.
This is taking longer than I thought.
Well, that's impressive. Of course, it's on a slow speed, right? Comparatively.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at 16 frames a
So
second.
what if, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, but what if the guy at the camera shop told him that's the film he needed to use? Would he know any better?
Bingo.
Well, I talk about that because I think what happened was he walked in there and he goes, "Hey, yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I'm going out and shooting a Sasquatch film. And what film do I need? What camera do I need?" And the guy goes, "Well, the pros are shooting 16." He goes, "Well, you know, Ego is going to go,
Right.
oh yeah, well I want those 16." He goes, "Well, what film is there?" He goes, "Well, your big producer guys, you know, filmmakers are using Kodachrome, you know."
Kind of like that $11,000 lens.
That's where the mistake was, because the guy at the camera store, either Roger asked for it or he recommended a film that you had to be precise with. And that's what bothers me.
Maybe
is
he
that
went in and said, "Give me the best film you got," or something.
he would have been
you know?
better off picking a negative film like this, the black and white,
Mhm.
or a color negative film than a color transparency film with, you have this much latitude with transparency and that much latitude
Wow.
with negative. That's the difference. So that's what I'm saying. Luck, luck, luck. You know, just one lucky move after another. 30 at f8.
This was a blast shooting this, guys. I forgot how much fun it was shooting film.
Mhm.
You really got to think.
Cross member and then the stump. So let me see what that
Yeah.
does.
$30
still about
every time I hit the
8.
trigger almost. You know, 20
We're still
bucks
on
anyway.
Infinity.
20 bucks every, every 20
Much
seconds.
easier if I get the tripod. I'm gonna pan over to it. Nice little composition, nicely backlit. Okay, now I ended the shot, but I'm gonna go to the big lens now. And all I have to do is keep it at f8, keep it at infinity, and I'm gonna do a step in on that stump, and you're gonna see a jump in my edit.
Yeah, you do.
Where's my trigger? There it is.
He
I've
does.
seen that.
It's a canoe wipeout. It's a portage.
And there's the larger lens. And you'll see a wide shot, and then it's going to jump into that root ball on the top.
So I'm using a
down.
50 millimeter, which
And we'll see
Patterson
what the
did not
quality
have.
of the.
So I got a 50 and a
and the f-stop
25
being
on
the
my
same.
camera.
I got the same.
He
one
had a
here.
25 and like an 18 or
did
25
one of the
and
cameras-
16.
One of those models only
One
have
or the other.
one lens,
The one he had was a one lens model.
and
it
you could set that to infinity, and then you wouldn't have to worry about focusing it on the run.
And it wasn't a focus lens, so he could do it on the run. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to make. So all that I think was right. Oh wow, look at that spoonbill.
Where'd he go? I don't see
He's
him.
on the, look at the tree.
This
stump.
spoonbill was crazy, guys. So I shot a spoonbill on 16 millimeter today,
Oh, yeah.
an alligator
Good call.
on 16 millimeter. I can't remember what else, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, I've never seen a bird that a wild bird that
Got
will
that.
let you get that close and just be so
Okay, this is
unconcerned.
awesome.
Cool.
You know, even to
what
the
if that
point
was
of
a
turning its
spoonbill
back on us
imitating
while it was still
a
feeding.
Sasquatch imitating
know-
a spoonbill?
Yeah. Hey, Joey. Joey says, hey, let me pause this. I think somebody's missing the point here. First of all, how could you find a human that can walk with bent knees? It's impossible. And second of all, who would know at the period of time even to know to duplicate a Bigfoot walk? What I'm doing has nothing to do with the Bigfoot walk. I'm not trying to disprove that it wasn't a Bigfoot on film. I'm trying to prove that. I mean, I can see all the points people are making on the film. I'm not trying to disprove the Bigfoot Patty film. I'm just saying with the camera and film used, the setup for failure was high and the guy did not fail. I don't get that. Because I'm struggling today with the f-stop, yet he jumps off and nails it. That's all I'm saying. It had Joey. It has nothing to do with the Bigfoot walk. What I'm saying is, the only thing I'm saying about the Bigfoot walk is the only reason we have a Patty film is that it walked away. If it had jogged away, ran away, we don't have a Patty film. If the light was cloudy or at dusk or early morning, we probably don't have a Patty film. That's my point. If someone asks Roger, now you want to be in bright sunlight, and that's going to be between noon and 3 p.m., maybe 4 p.m., that's your prime light. Well, guess when? Guess when the sighting happens? Exactly during that period. So the perfect light storm happens exactly when this thing appears. The speed of the thing happens to be slow, which is needed for it to be on film because of the wrong frames per second. That is what I'm just trying to understand. What that proves, probably nothing. But no one has looked at the camera guy. No one has looked at the operation of the camera. That's all I'm saying. Patty's fine, okay? Everybody settle down.
And listening to my comments up
Splashing
here,
water coming
I
up.
want to make clear that I completely believe that is a real creature that's on that film. I mean, having a medical background and the anatomical features and stuff, I mean, I can't imagine even what it, even someone trying to why would you have the breast? Why would you have the hernia? And they've even identified new muscle groups in the back that nobody noticed before and that no one gets unless you're like a world-class weightlifter, I mean, and to think that somebody could have dreamed all that up on the slight chance that 50 years in the future, somebody might have the technology to interrogate this film to the point we have, it just doesn't make sense. I'm just questioning. I'm completely ignorant about the technical side, and that's what fascinates me about the cameras and stuff. But I'm in no way saying that I think Patty's any kind of a hoax.
Right. And so me coming at it from the camera guy, I'm looking for all the camera breakdown, and I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing stuff like, well, we're not quite sure of the distance, but we're measuring the distance and the site locations with all the markers and blah, blah, blah. You know what? If you know it was shot with a 16 millimeter, and if you know it was shot with either a 25 or 16 or 18 lens, you don't need to be on site to get a distance and reference. So you were saying, Brian, you're 6'4"?
Yes.
So we had talked jokingly that when you emailed me way back, you said, hey, Matt, if you need someone to be your Patty, I'm not going to dress you up. I'm just going to have you walk.
I'm not doing the breast thing, just so you
Well, we might have to get Donald then. So no, but see, all that stuff, and like I was telling Tate, all of that is irrelevant to what I seek. What I seek is, what is the damn distance that Patty was shot at? That's a simple question from a film photographer. You put on an 18 millimeter and you shoot multiple distances. You put on a 25 millimeter, you shoot at multiple distances. When I get my film back, it's going to be full frame with sprockets. I can lay that full frame image after I shoot you walking at 60 feet, 80 feet, 100 feet, 120 feet with the 2 different lenses. All I have to do is lay that piece of film right over the famous frame of Patty.
Wow.
You're about the height. We'll have the full frame film. That's your distance. I don't need to be at Bluff Creek, people. So this all reenacting at Bluff Creek, I don't get the logic of that. Unless you're trying to do a reenactment. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to understand the film to the camera. And I guarantee you, when we do you and you're walking at, we'll have you walk at a couple of different gates. But the problem is I pan a little better, most likely, than Roger. So I will probably have clearer footage because I've shot race cars. I've shot ballet. I know how to shoot things at a slow exposure and time it to stop motion, but blur the background. So I'm going to have to kind of like shoot bad to emulate that because it was shot bad. The reason why there's so much blur is because of the motion. And when you shoot motion at a slow shutter speed, you have to be moving at the same rate as the object. That's how you do a blur picture of a race car. You shoot it at a 30th of a second. Their car's going by at 100 miles an hour. And guess what? If you do this and do that at the same rate of the car, you have a frozen car and a blurred background, right? We don't have that on Patty because he's running and there's all this stuff going on. I get it. I just want to know the film side of the business. That's all I'm trying to say. God, I get heated. I don't know why.
We're going to hear something. Push water or splash.
That's good.
Just a little further.
So this is the area where I've usually had things happen to me. And I was just telling you, you're probably
So the day my tree fell, I was way back there at the end of the trail. So
yeah, I know that.
Wow.
It was literally one of these big trees, and it fell at me.
And by the way, that's why I had my frame
That's
camera
crazy.
today set at 16 frames with the same close ASA of 40 instead of 50.
Now,
Very close matchup. So this is a
You
true
can only go a little more.
good look at this film
These
camera, but
creeks
I'm
come
shooting negative black and white, or actually reversal black and white, instead of color reversal.
That little island of leaves of theirs kind of bobbing and weaving. That would add to the background. Plus, oh, the log's really hopping now too.
Okay, this is
I'm not doing 30 frames a second. I'm doing 16 frames a
big
second.
light.
What I'm doing is an exact
I'd
match.
like to have one really different, so I know.
Just to contrast with
Even today, this
the
is
other
16
Yeah,
frames per
4.0.
second, which is
Stay down, son. Stay down.
a 1/30th of a shutter speed. That's how video works.
Did I whine?
If he had shot at 24 frames a second, he'd be at a 50th of a second, which would have had better results for Patty. If you'd been even higher, you can do it on these cameras. He would have totally froze the action, and that film would have been crystal clear. That's my point.
Plus, you'd have had a lot more frames that you could pull stills from and examine her better. Also.
If he had shot it at a faster, that's my point. If he had shot it at a faster film rate, and everyone goes, well, he was trying to save money, he was budgeting. That doesn't make sense. Why use the best camera in the market and the best film in the market and then say, oh, I'm going to go cheap ass on the most important thing,
Right.
shutter speed. It doesn't make sense, guys. No filmmaker is going to agree with that logic.
Which I've been wanting to do anyway. And there's some stuff I just don't need.
According to the Munns report, this is as close as anybody can get.
It's up about 4
And I'm following it.
4 foot drop. I've never seen it like this.
wow.
The water's usually out quite a ways. So
They probably
you do kind of pay attention to gators, I guess.
they probably got the bypass canal wide open right now.
But I can guarantee you guys, I will know the distance.
This is really neat. I mean, look at that whole area back there.
I love this area, dude. I'm not kidding.
You could.
I'd rather be here than
Look at this area, man. It's freaking gorgeous. How long are we going? We got an hour and 26. Sorry. We got a ways to go.
This worked out really well for us trying to film and video, because when it flooded, it killed off all the vegetation that would normally have been in there.
Yeah, maybe I should jump ahead a little bit, because we're at 33 and I got an hour and 10 minutes.
This tree was hit by lightning.
Let me jump ahead. Let me jump ahead. I don't want to. We're at an hour and 26 minutes now. Again, this GoPro, stop.
Boy.
Stop. No matter where I stop.
That's impressive.
See the sharpness? That's with that mod lens.
What lens I have on? The big one. Boy, it's like.
So I have a 50 millimeter lens there, so that's going to be equivalent to a 100 millimeter. It's going to be up there. It's more like a portrait lens. It's a filmmaker's lens, they call it. So that thing can actually reach out. So that'd be like 100 millimeters of what you're shooting today on your own camera.
Or something.
Dismiss.
Well, I don't know what kind of tree that is, but it's got some serious thorns on it.
Wait till you run into them.
I almost reached up and grabbed them for balance, and unfortunately I saw them just as I was reaching for them.
Yep.
Yeah, let me back up. There was a knock there. I don't know if we heard it there. Listen.
We hear somebody?
Where was it? I think I went back too far. Oh, well, there was a knock in here. Oh, right there.
Dismiss.
Well, I don't know what kind of tree that is, but it's got some serious thorns on it.
Heard a little knock there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear it?
Yep.
Down to 20.
So we're down to 20 feet. And then we do a little more playing around here. Oh, this is where I just show the app here again. You all have seen this. This is thanks to Mike. Tactical Bigfoot Research showed me this.
I know that one's right for sure.
If it comes up human, we run.
I said if it comes up human, you run.
And it toggles back and forth of which one's which.
There's a tufted titmouse. I didn't even hear that.
Now here's a good trick here though too.
It's recording. Now you go back.
Great way to add stuff in your research.
My screen.
Oh, wow.
So I can insert this into a video.
That's neat.
Watch this.
I
Live.
figure this stuff out, but
I still can't believe how fast that responds to the songs.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to show that. Almost forgot to test the close-up.
18 inches.
Are you gonna get the fungus?
Yeah. We're gonna put this on 18 inches.
Joey, the walk has nothing to do with it. Not even an issue.
Basically 5.6. So I'm gonna put my lens at 5.6. I don't want to run too much, but I want to do a close-up.
Now, what's going to happen here is I have the mushroom centered, and when I get it back, I'm going to have a corner of it because of the parallax. It's been so long, I forgot which way to go. But when you look through the viewfinder, you see these little dots. Let me see. You see these little dots going from the center to the bottom corner like that. And when you get closer and closer, you're supposed to use this as your center reference because the lens then will push
if you fluff it, the guts of it up.
So there's dots on the lens, and I kind of realized that after I shot it, I would miss that.
Mosquitoes, which I doubt.
I haven't been since I started it either.
It's been a while.
Oh, that's crazy.
Kind of like falling off a horse.
It's really working. Yeah, we just gotta make sure it doesn't turn around, like the hot part isn't toward my backpack.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Whoever you're walking with, if they're wearing it like this.
Yeah.
But what's nice about them, I learned that from Trail to Bigfoot, Chris Connor's group. They walk through and you see this, and I went, oh, I gotta have it. It's so cinematic.
So,
I want a
smoke generator.
I want a smoke generator.
Well, talking about my bug device there, if you put it up on your backpack and the weather's just right, it will just emit a puff of smoke from behind your head. And it's just great for filming.
They also make those for like around camp where it looks like a little plastic lantern and it burns a candle, and you just put the pads in there so you don't have to burn your gas cylinders out.
You could also generate smoke if you turned it around to fit the backpack.
Try getting out of that when it's on fire.
Let it set for 2 weeks. We film it in the canister to see if the camera leaks.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
My wife goes, shouldn't that be put away? I said, no, I want to see if it leaks. So I left it by a window.
Oh wow.
Which if it leaks, it'll only expose
Right, just that one little section.
what's out of the gate, what's out of the 2 reels. But the rest of it is still
But it'll
fine.
let you know.
But it'll let me know if my camera leaks. Which will let me know.
I'm guessing about 90
Start
feet.
really using it to wrap it in a black cloth
Right.
and lay it, you know.
Oh, there's our buddy again.
And I say that because any closer it wouldn't be walking.
Oh my God, this is the way to show it.
Just common sense.
Yeah, I think this would be a
Although,
creepy
Brian,
place
your
at
story
night.
kind of debunks
Bigfoot
that.
or no Bigfoot.
Now that I think about it.
You'd hear all kinds of stuff dropping and splashing in the water,
How
and
did we come here? I don't think we went that way.
we went through some pretty deep water.
Did we?
May have been
over here.
may have been up there.
Joey, enough, man. It does have something to do with it because if it can't be done, it would need
I don't
rehearsal.
know if we crossed while we were
Okay,
there.
it has everything to do
Maybe
with it.
we were.
Part of the
No, we
evidence.
couldn't have been because we'd had to cross.
I wouldn't be wasting my time if it wasn't important, and no one has done this.
Ooh, that
So-
stinks.
You don't want to trip and stick one of those in the chest. That'd be good.
You end up with a chest tube on the best of days. Collapse lung.
That's the most dangerous thing in the swamp is falling on those. Seriously.
Gotta shoot that.
Yeah, that'll ruin your whole day right there.
Yeah, especially if you're a
Oh,
breeder.
shoot it off.
So look at dead center again. Here's this spoonbill.
And look at the tree up there.
crazy.
Piece fell, it peeled the bark all the way down.
So again, with a 100mm lens in black and white with the 16, I got a nice shot of this. I think I just had a wildlife day.
I'm gonna go with the big lens.
See, now it's 4.0.
Lock it in.
F4 compared to F16. That's 4, 5, 6, 8, 11, 16. So today alone was a 5 f-stop difference. That's my point. Even shooting negative, it's 5 f-stops different. So when you learn about photography, 5 f-stop difference makes a big difference. So the camera does matter, especially when you're shooting transparency.
The spring or the
spring?
Oh, okay.
No, I want to save some for that. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Joey, take a hike.
Seriously,
dude.
When I look through here with the cider for this lens, you get a big circle.
You don't know
you
what
get
you're
a big
talking
circle
about.
like this, but you get a little square.
Oh, wow.
Because that's the field of frame. And then on the other lens, it's way out here.
Huh.
So I knew I was pretty tight in on that because this is basically shooting. This is a 50mm. It's almost like a 100mm or an 80mm. Wow. Yeah, so I'm 2/3 of the way there.
So what does that equate to as far as when they talk about time zoom? Like I was looking at that camera, what is it, the FC80 or 6?
It's a 2 from this lens to this. It's double. You know, so this is the filmmaker's lens is what this is called.
But I mean like that FC80, is it 80? Or do you have the 80?
Yeah. Well, I had it and I gave it to Ron.
Okay,
it's
so that's the one you told me to look at.
Yeah, it's a 1200mm. I sold it to Ron for
so it's like it's 2 times.
No, that one's probably like 6, 7, 10 times.
Because it says 1200.
This is where I show my technical prowess.
50 to 100, 100, 200,
cameras.
200, 400, 400, 800. It's about 7 times.
Okay. I've
never had one this close.
No.
This is
and for him to turn his back on it, I mean, he was like from here.
I should probably have that on 16.
We've been shooting film down to 20 feet.
I think that's gonna work good.
So yeah, so we're gonna hang in and finish off this last 20 feet and get it in the mail.
Let's just jump ahead here.
You think?
Footage I put in the video is from the Lumix and it's jumpy.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden on the way back, I'm using that and it's crystal clear.
That's crazy.
So.
Now this is where we missed the
this
turn.
thing hasn't tried to shut off.
We should be on the other side of this little creek.
He was saying that they were overheating and shutting off.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, this was
Really
interesting.
punky. Probably the winds we had with that last storm. Probably pushed them over.
Actually, this is the first time I've seen something that I've commented on. I want to really be honest.
Because that broke off and took part of the roots with it too. That's neat.
Well, I always said that was impossible for that to happen.
Okay, all you researchers out there, what is this? Put it in chat. What is it? Typical break? What are you seeing? Because this threw me for a minute.
I really want to be honest here, but what happened was, well, it's a little different than the one I'm talking about, but oh, so technically that's our first root ball in the air.
Yep.
It's totally natural, I didn't realize this was the root.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. It came all the way down.
Yeah, so what I was getting worried about was, I've always said you can't have a break happen here and then fall over and this back up or extend past. And I went, wait a minute, here it is, proof. But what happened is it broke here.
Right, and just
fell
hinged
over
on it.
and hinged on it.
And
that's
probably the only part of the stump that's
remember
still
my lettuce lake
substantial.
break where it broke and I said this happened,
Yeah.
but then it backed up flush? I thought, wait a minute, this just proves that, debunks it, but it really doesn't, because that's part of the root ball. I was like, how did it break from here over that way and then back up?
Now I
Because
know
it came-
sometimes when people cut them with chainsaws, they will kick back. But
Yep.
is that a result of the way they cut them, or
Thanks, Mike.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I know that's one thing you have to be really careful about on big trees, is they can kick back across the stump at you. But in most cases with that, I think you're cutting it from both sides.
And I told you one thing I learned from another tracker was, he started looking at surfaces up here.
Uh-huh.
Oh shit, that scared the crap
Oh.
out of me.
That's a nice thorn bush.
Did you see me jump? It got hooked on me. And I but
thought-
you'll see, if this was rotted anywhere, you could actually catch a print on these
Oh,
things.
wow. Yeah, that's right. I do remember you saying that now.
Yeah, so I really don't spend enough time on stuff like this.
This one probably wouldn't have much advantage to it, but if it was
Well,
laid
but
out...
then you can walk easily right up and just sit
Well,
here.
that's true, and especially if the water was higher.
Yeah, I mean,
That's something I picked up from Tim T.
you know, used to hear
Tim T of
stories
Florida
early on
pointed
like
that out. He's caught some prints up there.
that they would sit on
Something
these things at
similar.
night
Right.
and
That's
wait for
something
day
to
come
definitely
out
be
and
looking
jump
out
because
for.
you're looking up.
Because I thought about that
These would be
more.
like hunting stands. For
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have never believed it. I would have never believed it if someone had
So
told me
in that
they.
sense, you know, other people I've known.
It makes a great vantage point.
Looking for hairs and
Right.
all kinds of crazy stuff, but
Well, there's some
You know,
hair.
Exactly, Steve.
huh? That long one.
Right.
Okay, Donald, I got to answer this one. What would you do with the film if you did actually catch a Bigfoot with the film camera? Well, I would give it to some family member who would just run it off to some overnight lab and rush everything and get it all developed and then stop what I'm doing in my whole research, never make a film, and just throw it out there for the general public. That bothers me too. That's a great question. But I would process the film. I would vet it to about 10 people I know. Few of them in the chat here. If it looked really promising, I would probably not do a BFRO report because I wouldn't want the location and these things bothered. I mean, it allowed me to catch it and it didn't kill me. So I'm not in for hurting these things. So I would probably just be satisfied that I saw it. I'd be satisfied with the proof. And if it was good enough, I probably would let my TV station see it. But I would not indicate where it was. That the site would be, not mentioned. Good question.
But then
All
again,
about
we
it
all know
all.
that game. Who's going to look at hair?
Right.
Let me speed this up because
And
we're
even
going
this
into
one's
145. I don't want to keep you guys.
This is-
So we take this little side trail here, and it's absolutely gorgeous little loop around that I've never been on because it's always
If you jump
flooded.
down in front of us,
It's usually
Richard
3
and
foot
go
deep
for
in
about
here. You can see the
9.
water lines on the trees. That's actually over my head there. So I've never been on this part of this little trail.
They just died?
no, I was going to say.
And
that's
I'm
what we'll be
actually
telling
kinda-
everybody.
Even though I know where I'm at, I'm actually kind of like, oh, this is a little
Shows
weird. I'm a
you
little
quarter of a
disoriented.
battery, but right when he jumped
Well,
out,
if we could
it
see where we
died.
wanted to go, we could figure out how to
Didn't
get
a
there.
picture. Even if it does take us longer, it's still a neat area.
Yeah, Donald, I thought of this a lot. I mean, I sure don't want. I mean, people know where this is. This is no secret. I've probably taken 15 people here.
I'm telling you, out in these woods, this type of environment, there is no bunny trail. Unless you stick right to an established trail, because you can see where you want to go, but that doesn't mean you can get to it.
Not conveniently, anyway.
Well, this has
Yeah.
always been underwater.
But I just don't want this place overrun with, you know, seekers of those types that, you know, as soon as there's a fighting, they run to the site. And,
Yeah.
you know, I always thought that was silly, you know, going to places. I mean, unless it's within 24 hours. But, you know, to go somewhere that there was a sighting a year ago,
It's got to be.
I don't get it. It defies logic to me.
That's crazy. Okay.
I think when the screen goes to sleep, I think that saves a lot of battery. I don't know if you've ever experienced it or not, but sometimes with these palm trees, you got to be kind of careful. I'm just talking about this particular camera.
Okay, I gotta shoot that.
Steve, all I'm saying is if that was me, it'd be me delivering it.
Spoonbill.
And I would be waiting for it to be processed. I would not leave the facility. I would hand deliver it. I would sleep in my car outside. They would know I was there. They would wake me up and give me the film when it was
Put
done.
this on movie lens.
How that was all handled is just weird to me. But I hear you. I hear you. See the gator across the bank? Dead center of the two trees. And again, this is a GoPro, so it's not, you know, that Brian's shooting, so it's not really that wide. It's very misleading. So with my 100mm or 50mm lens, which is equivalent to a portrait lens, you know, a nice 80 to 100, I can get halfway across that river like I'm standing in the middle of the river shooting it. That's how close I am. I can't wait to insert this footage, man. I hope it comes
Tell all
out.
your buddies that you're the only gator around here that's been shot on celluloid ever.
A long time.
Unless they're really old, yeah.
Yeah. Show me some recent day 16mm of an alligator and a spoonbill up close.
Yeah. So that's...
Yeah, I hear you. I just don't want big footers from out of state coming tromping through.
I'm totally blown away here.
Like I said, this place isn't a secret.
And
people that know.
what's over there. Because, I mean, especially the pigs and stuff, too. I'm surprised we haven't seen any hogs. But they have no problem jumping in the water and swimming across.
You know, Brian, when you said that, I wanted to respond. I've never seen that. So you've seen hogs jump in the water and...
I have, especially when I've been canoeing and come around like a hairpin turn in the river and surprise some that were very near the bank, and they just, their first reaction was to just dive in the water and swim to the other side.
Man, we have never seen that. That's interesting. Huh.
Yep.
Okay, let me speed this up. And I'm just speed it up because it gets kind of good because I'm telling you about the nest area. Oh, there it is.
You could see it in the frame where I caught it. My camera's pointing like this, and you can see it come through the trees and splash. And that's
So this is the tree fall location.
So then I cruised up this way. Let me see if I can find that down tree. There's so many trees down, I can't.
A lot of them went down in this last storm, I think.
Yeah, and that I can't find. When I was out here and the nest was here, there was only one tree down and one somewhat nest.
Again, to turn it back on?
Oh, yeah.
So, what do they call that? Do you get maimed by a large ape, or what do they call that? Or
Destroyed?
I don't know. Well, not maimed, mauled. That's what I was
Mauled.
thinking of.
Okay, I think I just saw it.
I really don't think it matters what you call it.
Another tree I used as a marker that pointed to it.
Which one are you talking about?
The maiming and the mauling. I don't think it matters what you call it.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
It's hard to tell.
And you can't.
Right straight ahead, right?
Yeah, but you can't get to it this way. You could got if I kept walking that way, it looks like we.
And this is funny. This whole you can't get to it is the same thing that happened the day I shot.
Dark Angel.
Very similar conditions. Very similar.
Wow.
But much thicker. It wasn't this open. It's weird. Like everything's like, this is like a desert to me now.
I'm 90% sure it's in that straight ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of the vegetation died from the water, and then or the roots were, you know, swept clean, and it was just moved out of the way.
Oops, ground
Oh
stick.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
No, I didn't even realize that was stuck in the ground.
They call them ground sticks.
Yeah. So what you have to figure out is how hard was that ground when it fell. But it's still saturated.
There's a whole group of people that get excited over this and say they're markers. I just think they're fallen sticks because it happens in my backyard. I don't know if this is worth. This happens all the time.
Sorry.
But that pile of rubble right there, I think, is it. Because that's the root ball. And you follow the tree out, and that's the rubble. It's now totally collapsed.
Now, did you all catch that little zoom out right there?
High enough where it floated part of it, and it
I just don't
collapsed.
I don't know if I can back up.
It's up to you.
Okay, this is your camera shot that I zoomed in on. See that?
Oh wow!
So look how far that ridge, that tree line is, and look how this camera handled it. Where is it? I lost it. There. Shoot. Okay, so that's my step in on a GoPro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the full frame. That's a big enlargement. Why is it that I can still tell what's a stump and what's not? There's nothing in this picture that's throwing me, right?
No.
Okay, just me.
No, it's.
I just don't know. I'm thinking there's high ground somewhere.
So anyway, we try to get to this area.
That's
We go to there. Let me speed
I
up.
jumped.
Run this film out.
Okay.
Oh, here's when the film comes off the
I'm
leader.
gonna make a wide step here next to you.
Very subtle. I thought it would be more.
I've stepped in the middle. It would have been over my boot. Well, nothing ran when I jumped.
Okay. According to this is f4.035.
3.5. So we went from f16 to 3.5. Imagine screwing that up on transparency film. Ask any photographer if that shot would
So
come
if we
out.
come back out here one day and that's rebuilt,
No.
Oh yeah.
then we'd know something for sure.
This is really this camera lightened up. It's much darker in here than what you're
I'm gonna
seeing.
shoot a tight shot of the nest and then a loose shot. Brace myself
Okay.
on this tree.
Listen.
And then I'm gonna change lenses.
Oh, it's the next one.
Back to 3.5.
3.5.
Ooh,
Another step in.
12 inches, almost messed up. There's a lot to remember.
Yeah.
There's a lot to remember here. Okay, let me go over here.
There it was.
And there's the nest. 2 years later.
Right there.
I think the film just came off its spool. Yep. Did you hear it?
Yep. Just a tiny difference in the pitch. Okay.
And that whole, all that brown you see collapse on the ground
Mm-hmm.
was just a big puff the size of a Volkswagen.
Wow. Yeah, I remember looking at
it was
the
a
picture.
mound. And I was pretty much a little farther back when I shot it. I was about 80 yards.
And I have to admit, it did look like a face in there. For what that's worth.
I've heard different people describe, you know, no hair on face and everything. And whenever someone described the no hair on the face and the face clear, and the more they talk, they just describe what I captured.
Right. Because, I mean, if you're looking at a great ape, gorillas don't have hair on their face. Chimpanzees, you know, they don't have hair on their face. I just think there's, I don't know, the different descriptions you get, I just think maybe there's different types of them.
Yeah. And so the day I was shooting it, I was a little farther back, maybe just another tree stand, maybe to that tree over there. Maybe just right where the water stops.
Right.
I was over there and I was shooting, and as I zoom out, you can hear me say, there's a knock to my left. And there were knocks happening over here, and then even on the backside.
Wow.
And the 3 owls had just gone off 20 minutes earlier when the tree fell. So imagine tree falls, you know, or you know, get disoriented, do a bluff charge, my little fake thing.
Right.
Tree falls, freak out, come up here, cut in here, find a footprint, see this structure, try to shoot the structure, and then see a face, and then find the footprint, and then hear knocks. I mean, that's just one, you know, that's just too crazy for me to.
And there wouldn't, at least in my opinion, there wouldn't be one.
No. I just wish I'd got on long enough video-wise to see it blink or move, and it just didn't because I didn't see it.
Right.
But if I had seen it and could have sat there and rolled on it, we would see a blink, we would see...
Right. Well, if I would have been with you, we'd have seen what it was, because, like I said, as long as you get it on film so it's not for nothing, I'll walk and that's I think that's really what it's going to take, is somebody to see something iffy
and sense it and then move toward it.
Yeah. Right.
I agree. I'm excited.
I mean, unless you get really, really lucky and catch something moving.
First bit of film done.
That's neat.
Well, we'll see what happens. Watch it come back all blown out. Looks like I carried this boat anchor around. Remember the day you carried that boat anchor?
I'm talking about the film doesn't come out. It'd be like me carrying this boat anchor around. Oh boy. So anyway, guys, chat. I didn't know, you know, I thought you all would enjoy seeing the first roll of film run through the camera, and I hope that was somewhat enjoyable, and I hope that it did go through the gate clean, and that the camera is functional. I think it is. It sounds like it is. The film transported. When I took it out, it was a little loose on the reel, and I immediately put the black plastic, and it is all tucked away in here, ready to be sent off. And it's in black plastic, light tight, and then in here, and you have to include a disc because they do a high-res scan. So I'm going to get the 2K or 4K. I think I'm going to get the 4K scan just so I can really see what it looks like, and then I can compare some of your shots, Brian, with the GoPro. Even though it wasn't locked on a camera bar and side by side, I'm still going to do that test, but I think I can get a preview of that just by how you shot this today, that I think we can actually get a good judge of that. So, and we'll go from there. And if this comes out, we'll do the next step is to do what I'm referring to the distance experiment for Patty, is that you're about the height from what they're coming back. We're going to go to a bright sunlit, you know, road with a pasture or some sort, probably where we were in for chapter 8, you know, that one spot I'm talking about where it's wide open, and just have you do a crossover from, I'm guessing starting 50 feet and then maybe jump to 70 to 80 to 90, 100, 110, 120 with the 25mm lens. I have a very, very strong feeling it's the 16 or the 18 millimeter lens because, like I said, Tate sent me the Olympics projects test of a 25 and an 18, but it's in the dark and it shows a guy walking the paddy area with the coverage. And of course, you can't get an exposure in there now, which is, again, my whole point. If the light was different, there would be nothing. And you can barely, this guy wore a white shirt at the test and you can barely see him go by. And it looked like to me when they did the overlay that the 18 millimeter lens almost looked like an exact match. So I could tell enough from that it was probably the exact match. But what they're doing a little different is they got a spot where he stood and where they've measured and all the calculations happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would rather just have it in the open with an 18 or 16 or a 25 millimeter lens and just do a matchup of someone at the same height. I don't know why you need to be at Bluff Creek to do that, because that will give you the distance. And right now, no one has told me the distance. Again, this has been 55 years. No one has told me the distance. And there's, it's an 18 or a 25 or a 16 or a 25 millimeter lens. Well, what is it? If you know the distance and everything's measured, there shouldn't be a question at this point. I don't know what they're waiting on. I don't know why there's a guess here. If you got both lenses, which they did, and they tested the Bluff Creek site, what is the distance? Maybe they know it. I don't know. But I don't know it, and so I want to do it myself. So that's going to do that. And it's also going to talk about the sharpness. Again, what my black and white positive look like compared to the Kodachrome. It should be, it's film. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. So I just want to kind of know that. Not groundbreaking stuff by any means, but important to me because I just want to understand it. So that's it. So unless there's any questions out there. Oh my God. Star Trek is on. Good night, guys. That means I lost Max too. Oh my gosh. It's the size of Patty Bryan on the frame. That's all you need to figure it out. Exactly. I don't understand the logic of all these measurements. It's like, I disagree with that, Donald. I disagree with, dude, 45 feet and you're running at it with something in your hand, making that type of motor noise. Of course, 16 frames per second is pretty slow. It's not as loud as I thought it would be in the field. Dude, I don't think anything's going to walk away at 45 feet when someone's approaching you like Roger was approaching it. That just smells fishy to me. I mean, think about it, Brian. If you had turned and started walking toward yours, you think it would have just kept walking at the same pace or turned around and challenged you?
I don't know. That, like I said, that was like the part of the most creepy.
Yeah.
That was the creepiest part of the whole thing, was that it just seemed to not be concerned whatsoever.
Yeah. I've heard 30, 45 feet, but man, I tell you, if someone told me that film was shot at 30, 45 feet, I don't believe it. Again, I hear what they're showing me on the costume and all that, but I can't logically see how anybody would be 45 feet, guys. Really? What is that, 15 yards?
Mm-hmm. Pretty close.
There's no way. There is no way. I call bullshit on that. There is no way someone's going to run at a Sasquatch with a 16 millimeter in his hand with that thing doesn't know what it's doing. If it has sensitive hearing, it can hear it. And you're running toward it and it's going to continue walking away at 45 feet. I don't think so. That just defies logic to me. I don't believe it. I really don't believe it. If that's the case, I don't believe it. I really don't. The Men's report says 18 to 20, Steve. So that's why I'm at 16. But they also, no, 20, it did not go up to 20. 20 would have been a 40th of a second shutter speed. Most people can't take a portrait held at a 40th of a second and keep it sharp. So 24 would have been a 50th of a shutter speed, and that's doable. You can freeze something at a 50th of a second. But you got to realize there's, 18 frames running through at a 30th of a second. In modern day video cameras, when you set your video camera mounting today at 30 frames a second, our shutter speed's at 60th frames a second. And when you shoot at 60 frames a second, your shutter speed is 1/20th. So you know how they shoot bullets in the air and they capture motion of bullets hitting pineapples and balloons and they're exploding? That is high speed stuff. That's really like a 240, even higher. High speed cameras are doing that. And they do that because the shutter speed freezes it. But again, just wrong shutter speed for what you're trying to do. It's like me going out and shooting NFL football and say, hey guys, I want to go shoot an NFL game. What do y'all use? I use a Canon. What lens? A 600 millimeter. You need $11,000 lens to shoot this game. Okay. And then not bothering to know anything about shutter speed and going out there with $15,000 worth of gear in your hand. And you're shooting football at 1/25th of a second when everybody else is shooting 500th of a thousandth of a second. That's what happened here. And that's why I got a problem with it. So anyway, that's all I got, guys. I think I ran everybody off. Well, Brian, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, I had a good time. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we will do some more. I will send this film off tomorrow, and we'll go from there. And I guess I got to figure out what to do with my computer to get Chapter 8 out the door now that it's dead. So I don't know what's going to happen and where I'm at. So,
but I'm excited to see the film, see what comes out on it.
Man, it's going to be the biggest bummer in the world if it doesn't come out. But we'll take it from there. All we can do is, when you buy old cameras like this, you just have to assume that, you just pray, cross your fingers that it works. So that's all I can do. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to just do a hard out and leave Brian in here, and we'll just say good night. Thanks for tuning in. And Brian, hang in after I end this, and we can chat a little bit.
Okay.
We'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.